Hey everyone. So a couple of weeks ago, or more like a week ago actually, I was able to determine that I needed to change my master cylinder in my old Toyota Corolla. And so I went online, I found this master cylinder replacement. This one is from Duralast. It's the NM52523. Is the part number that it's sold under. And so when I got the master cylinder, of course, I went in and I opened the box, and the box comes with some instructions for a bleeding kit and a few parts. I'm going to show those in a little bit. And it also comes, of course, with the actual master cylinder here. Okay. Now here's the thing about this. What I did was, since the bleeding kit came with it, I was all excited and everything, thinking, okay, this is gonna make life just a wee bit easier, until I noticed this. So if we open up the bag here, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here. Whoops. If we open up the bag here that has the bleeding kit included, again we have a set of instructions. We have two plastic tubes here, and we have some sort of clip to hold the tubes in place when you're bleeding the master cylinder. And it comes also with, let's see, hold on 1 minute here, I'm grabbing these real slowly. It comes with also some barbed tips here that we can use to insert into the ports of the master cylinder. Okay, and these tips here, they have the hole in it so the brakes fluid can actually flow through these and through the tubes. And also want to mention there were a couple of these barbed tubes also. These don't have holes, but apparently what I'm guessing is these are for the purpose of when you take off the brake lines off of the master cylinder ports, which in this case is right here, and there's a second one up here. Okay, those are to place into the hoses so that you can prevent less of the brake fluid from escaping. Alright, so far so good. According to the instructions, it said to take the tip here, the connector here, and put it onto the plastic tubing. And so that's what I ended up doing. I put it onto the plastic tubing and I put it on nice and snug. And I did the same thing with the other tube. I grabbed that and I put that onto the tip there, that barbed tip that's going to be used to connect to the ports. And so then at this point the instructions told me to put the well, it actually said to go ahead and put it into the clips. So then I went ahead and put those into the clips on the ends here, put the tubings into the clips, and so that's what I'm doing. And so after I got to this point here, it said to insert these tips into the ports of the master cylinder. So I stuck them in, but what I noticed was that they weren't secured at all. And so if you have any idea as to how the master cylinder works, what happens is as you push the piston here, pressure builds up and it forces fluid out. And I figured if it's going to be forcing fluid out, I don't think these tips are actually going to stay in here. So I read the instructions thinking I must have missed something, because there's no way that these tips could be so easily removed, given that there's going to be a buildup in pressure within the system. And so I looked and looked and looked. The instructions said nothing. So what I ended up doing was I ended up calling Duralast and asking them, well, are there supposed to be some sort of adjustments made, because it made no sense that they were supposed to be that loose. And so after talking to the technician for about a minute, I found that yes, there's an adjustment that needs to be made. So what's going to happen is you're going to actually need to cut the tips here so that the tapered end of the tube, the tip here, as you stick it in, is actually going to get wedged and stuck into nicely into the ports. Okay, so one goes in down there and one goes in up here. And so again, this was not in the instructions, and that's the reason why I made the video, because you know, given I understand the general or I get the general gist of how to use the master cylinder or how the master cylinder works, it made no sense that these weren't going to fit nice and snug in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut these down. And in order to cut them down so that they can be wedged in there, I'm going to use a set of pliers. And also I would suggest to you that you also, because what's going to happen is when we cut those down, the pliers here, what's going to happen is the hole may become a little bit blocked, and so we may need to push the plastic that got stuck in there out of the hole. So I would suggest that you get a really thin piece of wire that you can fit into the end here, so that you can push any plastic debris that got stuck in there out of the wire. Okay, so I'm not gonna actually show me cutting this on the video, because I don't think that it's going to do you much good, because you can of course do it until you actually get a nice fit in there. And so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video at this point, and then the next time you see me, you're gonna see these tips cut down, and they're gonna be nicely wedged into the ports here, so that we can get some level of resistance, so that when we start bleeding the master cylinder, we don't have an issue with these tips flying out as we apply pressure to the piston here, flying out of the port. Okay, so again, I'll go ahead and stop the video, and then next time again you'll see the tips cut and inserted into the master cylinder. And again, I'm going to cut them using this set of small pliers here. Alright guys, I'm back, and I have trimmed those tips on the connectors, the tapered end of the connectors, so that they fit a little bit more snugly inside of the ports here. Now I will admit to you though, even though they're a bit more snug and it takes a little bit more force to pull them out of there, honestly I am still a little bit uncomfortable with how tight of a fit or how good of a fit they are inside of the ports. As you can see up here, you know, there is some wiggle room down here. There's some wiggle room. I cut this one a little bit more, this one here a little bit more than I did this one, so I had to really force this one in. Maybe I'm gonna have to cut this one down, but the whole thing is though is that they're a little bit more snug than they used to be. Now what I will say is that in addition to this is that this video session here, I guess you can call it, may end up being more of a review on this bleeding kit. Who knows, because when I start hitting the piston here, pushing the piston here, when I'm doing, I'm actually going to do this in the car rather than doing a bench bleeding. I'm actually going to put it in the car and then hit the brakes so that it forces more air out, and I don't have to actually do this by hand, which is the way that the bench bleeding is normally done. And who knows, maybe these will come up, maybe they won't. What I will try to do though is I'll try to do a follow-up video to let you know how well this bleeding kit worked with this master cylinder. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, I don't know, but I'll definitely let you know how well it worked out and whether it is worth you know, just going and buying a bleeding kit or another bleeding kit, or buying the master cylinder without the bleeding kit and buying a more, I guess, for lack of a better term, a more professional bleeding kit, where you can actually screw the tips into the actual ports here. Again, I'll let you guys know how it turns out. Please stay tuned.